Thanks for joining me today on the Commentary Sunday with the Art of Prepping. This is going to be a commentary on the movie 28 Days Later with Danny Boyle, the director, and he did a very good job. This is an older movie, though. It's considered by a lot of people in the prepping community, people prepared mind, that this is kind of in the top 20. For some people, it's the top 10 of more of a contemporary look at what happens to people under stress, and kind of, see, especially when you talk about pandemics or major disasters, what could happen. Now, this particular movie really kind of hit a few points that I wanted to take, and there's basically 4 or 5 points here that I want to go over that I got from this movie. I've seen it a few times over the years, and I thought, that maybe make my own commentary on this. The first would be the speed of infection. It happened very fast, actually, in this movie and in real life, such as an example would be the 1918 influenza. They call it sometimes the Spanish influenza pandemic, and within just 2 to 3 months, it spread around the world, literally almost in every continent. And I think within like 6 to 9 months, it started to burn out, as a lot of things do. Even like the AIDS virus now, it's starting to burn out. And people say, if it wasn't for the vaccines, polio would have kept on going. All the science shows that polio was burning out, and that was one of the real reasons that it kind of went away, not because of vaccines. But let's get back to this. The influenza of 1918 was horrific. They didn't have a lot of the knowledge about how to deal with fevers and flus and different types of ailments. And so about 500 million people actually caught it. At least that's their best estimate. And as much as 5% of the population of the world, 5% of the world died. And the best estimate is probably as high as about 100 million people. There's different numbers, but that's the upper end. So we just don't know, because there was not a lot of good census data in a lot of those countries. We just don't know, but the estimates is around 100 million people. And this is less than 100 years ago, people. So this movie, though, even though it has zombies and this very odd type of, genre that I'm not into at all personally. If you're into zombies, that's great. I just have no appeal to it personally. But I kind of look at it a little bit differently. I try to just pretend that the zombies are actually more like marauders or gangs or thugs. And if you do that, for me personally, the movie is much more enjoyable. Because you can kind of get a sense of what would probably be happening on a grid down or pandemic situation. Now, this is an insert that's inside the DVD. It says day 1 exposure, day 3 infection, day 8 pandemic, and it goes on. 15 is evacuation, day 20 devastation, and 28 days later. So basically, this just shows you, and this is really true, especially if you were in a city with a lot of people, high population center, you're going to have a pretty fast spread of a disease, especially for pandemics. And so this is somewhat realistic, besides the zombie thing. So what's my next point? The next one is going to be general devastation and loss of generations to come. So you got to remember, there's a lot of people who are going to perish, and that the genetic pool will be gone. There will not be certain lineages carried on, and the devastation across the board is unbelievable. Not just because things are not going to be able to be maintained in cities. Cities will start to crumble. But the devastation, though, on the advancement of technology, the continuation of technological advances in that society or that community or city-state. And so there's a major halt on that. And so there's a suspension, really, of any kind of advancement, in the culture in particular. And if anything, a lot of things are reverted back, and there's a lot of regression in the society. Making it such that they're just more of a focus for their basic needs and not of culture and not of expanding their life. So with that, the next point is going to be that goes right into this is the change of priorities. So it goes from people asking about what am I going to do tonight? You want to go see a movie at the movie theater? Do you want to go to see this or that, or go and eat at this restaurant, or you want to get some fast food, or do you want to go and hang out here on the lake and go fishing, or just for fun, to something much more serious of, okay, where can we go for shelter that's going to be safe? Where is our food? We have to get some food we don't have anymore. How are we going to filter water? Little Tommy over here is sick. Who do we know that has any kind of medical knowledge, and do we have any medicine? So that's going to be the change of priorities. It'll go overnight in just a matter of days. It could be from, la-di-da-di-da to holy hell, we're in deep trouble. The next point I want to make is that if you switch out the zombies for the marauders and gangs or thugs, you get really what you would call the mob mentality in this video, and a WROL kind of status with without rule of law or a lawlessness factor in this video. And so it's not like completely, obvious that, because obviously they're zombies, but they are kind of like working together, these zombies, in the same sense as you would see thugs, even though they're pretty much all in for themselves, but they'll work together to get some things for themselves because they're selfish. And lastly, though, I'd like to talk about the despair and hopelessness throughout this movie, almost all the way through to the very end. And of course, depending on what alternative ending, because there's several alternative endings you can watch on this. But pretty much, I'd say like over 95% of the video, besides the few scenes though that there's a father and a daughter, and they're kind of oblivious because they're trying to distract each other and take care of each other. Therefore, they have each other as a distraction, and everybody else doesn't seem like they have any family left. They're all dead. So for the most part, there's just a massive amount of desperation to find normalcy, or just to find things in manners that they had before. And so there's a lot of grief going on, a lot of loss and confusion, some bartering going on, basically the stages of grief, as we know. And so you do see this in this movie. It's actually pretty decent. And the hopelessness, the hopelessness gets so far and so raw at some points that you can kind of get a sense that the value for humanity and for the human life is not it's not what we have today, or at least what people say that it's worth. And so there's this differential that you see in this movie, that the hopelessness and the rawness of life and the difficulties are superseding that respect and that civilized manner of speaking to each other. The whole civilized nature of what we call a civilized community or society, polite society, is totally out the window. There's none of those, not so many manners at all. Every once in a while, you'll have a little bit when they actually find maybe something that they need, food or maybe companionship or shelter or security. They'll kind of get back a little bit more in their old mannerisms of trying to be respectful, but there's a lot of rawness, and I think that you would see that though in a grid down or in a long-term disasters, if a whole large communities are wiped out. And mutual aid is not rendered by the surrounding networks for whatever reason. Maybe because there's radiation, or maybe it's just not safe to go there for other reasons. You may have to figure out how are you going to, work through desperation and hopelessness, and that's why you would prepare now for this, not only physically through preps, but mentally, going through, in the woods, for example, and spending a few days, or various, awesome preppers on, that doing these different challenges. They're going on right now. Just spending a day or two without their electricity on is awesome. I pretty much do that almost every day, with the exception of using the charger for my phone. Literally, my electric bill is typically under $20 a month. And so I'm not saying it's all like, whoo, but just to have the electric, to my house, just the service charge alone is like $15. So typically, I literally only use $4 to $5 a month in electricity. A lot of people don't believe that, of course, but people who know me, that knows that it's true. But that's just how it works with me. I don't, almost ever even turn the radio on anymore. I don't even watch TV. Basically, I just charge my phone. I have a couple very high efficiency LED lights in my home. And, besides just a water heater from time to time to keep a little bit of heat in the water tanks so I don't have cold water on my sink, that's about it, man. It can be just that simple. course, a lot of people have a lot more complexities and maybe other reasons that are legitimate for using more electricity. But I don't use air conditioning, as I had in my other video. I use fans, so I guess you could probably say fans could definitely use electricity, but mine are very efficient, and I don't hardly even have them on half the time. So that could be another source that I would need, but I do have hand fans, But anyways, so this is the commentary today, just talking about, all these different ideologies when it comes to disaster scenarios. And sometimes looking at videos or movies, there's not like a large amount of videos that I would say that would be a really good reference, but there's definitely a few handfuls, or maybe even a few dozen, really, over the last 100 years that depict, what you would consider somewhat realistic, or at least you can draw conclusions to kind of help you maybe make better plans. So as always, thanks for joining me, though, especially joining me here on the Commentary Sunday with the Art of Prepping, and wish you all well and happy prepping.